Welcome to Retail Retold, the stories behind how that store landed in your neighborhood. I'm Chris Ressa, in conversation with the people and stories shaping retail and real estate. Brought to you by DLC. Welcome to Retail Retold, everyone. Today I'm joined by Greg Parsons. Greg is the founder and owner of GP Retails Consulting. He's been in the retail real estate industry for a long time. He's a friend of mine. I'm excited for him to be here. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Greg, I think you have an interesting path in retail real estate. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you've done over your career?
Okay. I've been in, so my name is Greg Parsons. I'm the founder of GP Retails Consulting currently, but I've been in the industry for the better part of 25 years, starting primarily on the landlord retail real estate side, and then recently was with Spirit Halloween over the last two seasons on the retailer side. So my path has taken me into property management, property marketing, leasing, traditional leasing, non-traditional leasing. So I mean, I've had a very winding road path to get to where I am today.
And I don't know if this is a fair characterization, but I put you in a specialist category of someone who's pretty passionate about temp leasing, seasonal leasing, pop-up stores, and these type of non-traditional concepts. Is that a fair characterization?
I mean, I think it's in part a fair characterization. I mean, I do have a passion on retail. Have always had that. And so finding that niche between short term and seasonal retail has just kind of, I was bitten by a bug a while back and have really found that a lot of creativity and is in that realm. And I just really always found enjoyment just trying to figure out how best to maximize retail real estate and in specifically shopping center spaces and to utilize them on a short-term basis.
And you have this what's going on in pop-up retail is it every Friday?
Yeah, every Friday. Every Friday comes out.
And tell everybody about that. What's going on in pop-up retail?
So I started this, we'll call it weekly report on pop-up retail a couple years ago. And again, it kind of spawned from a passion of what I've done my entire career. But it really summarizes the creativity and just the innovation of what's going on with international brands, regional brands, or even local brands across the globe. And so I'm just constantly researching what's going on, what's happening in other parts of the world, because I report it because I think other people should know what others are doing. I think it's a great way to share information. And someone's creativity in China may be a great idea that somebody can use, and let's just call it Bloomington, Indiana, per se. So I just like bringing that together and kind of just summarizing what's going on that particular week.
So what is going on in pop-up retail today? Like, if you were going to summarize, this is a growing category. Actually, don't answer that. Let's reframe everybody for a second. For those who don't know, let's talk about short-term leasing versus seasonal leasing and the differences in these seasonal tenants versus these short-term type tenants that we're seeing in this pop-up world and what's going on with that. Can you take us through and kind of break it up? Because I think there's different categories so that we can make sure we're all understanding the same,
Sure.
reading from the same textbook.
So I think when we consider seasonal leasing, we it initially is started with, let's say, your typical Christmas store or like a Christmas tree sale, over the holiday season. And then, 30 some years ago, Halloween became a much more popular holiday. And so retailers decide, the evolution and the starting of the Spirit Halloweens and the Halloween Expresses of the world capitalized on that season as well. And so they've always kind of wrapped themselves around a special holiday, per se. So that's kind of your seasonal leasing part. And then when
Do you
you're
put
on,
like Hickory Farms in there and some of those groups, calendar?
yeah, I mean, everyone that's kind of capitalizing on a specific holiday per se, then, the Hickory Farms, um, Seas Candies, go retail, go calendars. Those guys that you'll typically see in a mall kiosk during November and December. I categorize them into the seasonal retail
Okay,
bucket.
got it.
And then you've got others, and I mean, and you can put H&R Block, and you can put Jackson Hewitt in
True.
that same block as well.
Right.
They're capitalizing on a specific season. Short-term retail, I think, is a little bit more targeted in a specific, whether it be a specific market, a specific um, demographic, whatever that case may be, is, and they're trying to capitalize on a short-term basis to either test, it's a retail laboratory, it's some retail experimentation to really engage a shopper on a very specific time, and so they use that short-term period to gain as much data as they can, generate some sales in the process, and to really evaluate their overall brand in that short time frame. So I mean, the Burberry, a lot of that comes from these luxury guys, the Louis Vuittons, the Dior's, Burberry. Those guys are focused on. I mean, they have an entire division dedicated to short-term retail because they're constantly testing and evaluating, where their brand is going and what shoppers are doing.
Got it. And malls for a long time incubated short-term tenants, hoping they might become permanent tenants in their malls for a long time, right? They sign a year lease with a 30-day out, and hopefully the tenant knocks the cover off the ball, sales are through the roof, and wants to stay long term, right? This has
Correct.
been a concept for a long time from a short-term basis,
Yes.
which is different than the seasonal retailers who their model's pretty set in stone right now. They know what they need to do. They know when they need to do it. They're coming in for a certain period of time to capitalize, as you call it, surrounding a holiday or a season. So, okay. So there's that. Now that we've separated the two, what's going on in, short-term leasing, pop-up retail? What's going on today?
I think a lot of it. What's interesting to see is that there's so much experimentation in that realm. Um, you've got a lot of people that are collaborating with artists to create these immersive retail environments, and on a short-term basis, and but they're doing it on different levels. So it's a solid experimentation, almost like a laboratory, if you will, to really engage shoppers, to understand the data that they're building, to generate some sales, and to really evaluate the overall impression of that brand that that shoppers are seeing. And that's where I think it's it's much different today than it was even 5 years ago. And yes, the pandemic has somewhat exacerbated that, but um, it's much more poignant and targeted than I think it's ever been before.
If you were going to tell me, let's just make it fun. What are like the three coolest short-term pop-up stores you've seen since the pandemic, March of 2020? Let's put you on the
Um,
spot. We didn't prep this
sure.
question, everybody.
Yeah, no, I know. The I think Candyopolis has been one that's been pretty impressive. They bounce around from market to market and essentially create this environment. It's almost like a maze that's just dedicated towards simple different candies, and they'll take a 15,000 square foot space. They're open for 6 months, and it really becomes a museum almost of just simply about candy.
Of sugar.
Yeah, it's all sugar. We gotta love it.
So
I
Candyopolis, that's one.
Yeah. Louis Vuitton really is doing some impressive things with regards to artist collaborations. They just launched one a couple weeks earlier this year, with an artist in Japan, and they've really taken that and expanded it, across the globe. So now they've had one in Japan, they've got one in Paris, they've got New York and LA. I mean, that's a pretty impressive. Just those type of collaborations, I think, seem to be pretty impressive. Um, a third that I think that I've seen is being utilized fairly well is what Dick's is doing. Dick's is doing kind of like their warehouse sale, um, and so they use it as an experimentation, um, venue. And I mean, they are trying to offline, to
Clear
take
out inventory.
clear out. Thank you. Trying lost my words. Clear out inventory, from other stores, but they're typically in decent, either in local shopping centers that they're already in, or they're actually testing out other markets, within a submarket of that geography. So, I think those three are some interesting aspects of what's going on in
All right.
pop so far.
So Greg's three cool short-term concepts:
Yeah, short term
Candyopolis,
concepts.
Louis
Louis
Vuitton,
Vuitton.
and Dick's Sporting Goods. Cool.
Yeah,
One last thing before we get into your story.
sure.
Tell us what GP Retails Consulting is, what you're doing, and how it's going.
So I really launched it last fall. Really had decided that I'm wanted to step away from the, kind of from the, we'll call it the corporate world, if you will. And I thought that there is this niche and desire for landlords, municipalities, even retailers to utilize short term pop up retail, and within their venues, and expand it to what they currently do. A lot of municipalities are growing to, they're trying to infiltrate and try to upgrade their merchandise mix within their municipalities, and they're not really they're just not tapping into the opportunity that they can be, and utilizing the opportunities that they have. And so I just have always been this passion within retail, and always liked that there's a little niche of doing something short term. I just I thought it was time to kind of go out on my own, and to start to see what the what's out there.
So, if someone were, what is an engagement you foresee that you might take on so that people could know, and you can tell the audience if they're interested in potentially, bringing some short-term opportunities to them. What does an engagement like? What would be a scope of work you would be doing?
So scope of work for me would be simply, um, I can do it on a deal by deal basis. If there's a property that needs some help, that I could go out and canvas those markets and really attract retailers on a short term basis. Um, I can also put together some strategies with different cities to evaluate their locations, and their opportunities within those specific markets that they control, to really integrate, some quality operators, to really get the lights turned on, so that their presence, so their streetscapes look as best as they possibly can. So those are just a couple different things.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah,
Well, appreciate you giving us some cool concepts, telling us a little bit
sure.
about you and what's going on in short-term and seasonal retail. You have a story about a spirit Halloween in Centennial, Colorado. Take us away.
Okay, so This is 2005.
Okay.
So we're going back a little bit. And 2004, Just for Feet had just gone bankrupt. So all of their stores had closed in 2004. So that leaves, you know, a good a good amount of real estate available for possible short term deals for Halloween stores um, back then. So I'm working at DDR at the time, which is now Site Centers. So I'm and we go out. No, this is April 2005. We go out to bid for who's going to take over the majority of our Halloween business. Back then, we go to Spirit, we go to Halloween Express, which is another Halloween operator, and then there's a couple local operators, within tertiary markets that we work with as well. So everybody goes out to bid. We solicit the sites, and Centennial with the Just for Feet space in Centennial is we'll call it a hot commodity. It's attractive right off of I-25, right across from Park Meadows Mall. Probably one of the best pieces of real estate in the country. In all honesty, I mean it's a pretty attractive place. So throughout the bid process, we award the Just for Feet space to Spirit. Spirit will end up, so this is, we'll call it late June, early July, and space goes out for bid. So Spirit, we secure a deal with Spirit, and they're preparing to move in middle of August. Okay. And going back a little bit, the property is leased and owned and managed by DDR at the time. They've hired a secondary broker to kind of help out with some of the additional leasing because there was some other vacancies at the property, even though we have an in-house leasing staff. And come middle of August, Spirit comes knocking on the door. Well, doors open, and someone else is already inside.
Oh no.
And someone that's already inside is setting up Halloween merchandise.
Oh my God.
And so it's coming to be, lo and behold, it's Halloween Express, whom we rejected their bid for the space months ago. Come to find out that the local broker team did a deal with Halloween Express.
Oh my God.
So somehow, and I mean, I only found out about this. I get a phone call on a random Sunday afternoon from my property manager in Colorado, whom I rarely talk to, aside from during the week, saying, "Hey, we got a problem here. We've got two people trying to need the same space at the same time." I go, "Well, that's interesting because I only know of one." And so it was interesting. We had a little bit of of emergency negotiations handled to get, because eventually what ended up happening, Halloween Express had no business being there, even though the broker team did the deal, which was a whole separate issue of how that even
Who
happened.
signed the document? Because the brokers are third party. They couldn't sign on behalf of the ownership. Who signed the document with
I
Halloween Express?
Halloween Express signed theirs, and I think it came from the broker group. I mean, again, it was a very weird situation trying to figure out
Wow.
how this happened.
And so
Um,
Spirit, and so now, so they don't really have a deal. So you must have. Did you call Halloween Express?
yeah, I'm on the phone with Halloween Express because I'd work with them. Look, we've talked about this. It's like, how did you guys get this? Like, well, we thought we thought the other broker group just let us do the deal. Like, no, that's not how this was supposed to go. I mean, we always work together. We have hundreds, we've worked with you in multiple sites across the country. You kind of know the process. So
Wow.
they thought that,
And unpacking that, so you call Halloween Express. They're already inside. They've spent money. They've ordered stuff. How long from there did they exit the space?
uh, it, it took them about 2 weeks
2 weeks.
before. I mean, there was this leading up part. So they kind of squatted for a little bit as we were trying to work everything out. So Spirit's just sitting on the front door, waiting to get in. I mean, they've got trucks and merchandise and staff, and I mean, they're ready to go. And after about 2 weeks, there was a period where Halloween Express was moving out and Spirit was moving in at the same time. So it
Wow.
was a very interesting dynamic.
And how did the conversations go with Spirit? They call you probably freaking out.
They were calling me, I get the call from the property manager. They were calling me freaking out. And so now I've got to balance all of these. One, there's a lot of unknowns going on because how does somebody got access to a space? I don't know at the time. And then, I've got Spirit trusting me that, hey, we trusted you with our with this deal. We're trying to make sure that we get into this space because we want to get these stores open by Labor Day because that's just kind of their planning. I mean, at the time that was then. I mean, now they're about a month earlier if they can. So there was it was some interest. That was an interesting month.
That
Interesting
was an
2 week period.
interesting month. The in Did Halloween Express, did you have to pay them to leave?
No,
Well, that's
no,
good. You worked out a
we,
deal.
we we did not have to pay them to leave. We ended up working out a deal. I want to say it was at another one of our shopping centers in Denver that actually had come available. It wasn't as big as Just for Feet, but it was usable. And I mean, so they were somewhat. I mean, yes, they were somewhat made whole. I mean, it was a mistake, and they owned up to it at the time after the fact. But
Wow.
it was still when you're dealing with seasonal retail and there's just this small window of opportunity, everything just gets flows through this pipe extremely fast, and so some things just kind of slip through. That's what happens.
Wow. Well, Greg, that was a pretty cool story. Really appreciate you coming on today. I want to take us to the end of the show. I got 3 questions for you. Are you ready?
Sure.
Question 1. What extinct retailer do you wish would come back from the dead?
It's interesting. We actually just talked about it. It's Just for Feet.
Very cool.
When I was in college, there was a Just for Feet store in Dublin, Ohio, and that we would always go to. And they'd had the big basketball court in the middle of the store,
I remember.
and they would always offer like free throw competitions. They would have dunk contests in the store. So it was always just an engaging environment for us when we went there as college kids. So it's just I missed that when they left because I would have
Is
loved to share
that is
that with them.
that you telling us that you can dunk?
That is me telling you I could at the time. That's no longer the case.
All
I've
right.
retired those shoes.
So
But
can we make that the title of the show? Greg Parsons can dunk.
yeah, yeah, I think you should. I think you should.
Okay. Question 2. What's the last item over $20 that you bought in a store?
So it was a water heater blanket from Home Depot.
Okay.
However, I didn't use it on a water heater.
What'd you use it on?
I used it on our outdoor irrigation system. So I'm in Houston, and over the holiday season, temperatures dropped to below 20. Well, anytime the temperature drops below 30 degrees, people in Houston panic. I mean, it is, the grocery stores are empty, Home Depot's empty. I mean, everything's gone. So luckily, I was able to find this blanket, wrap the outdoor irrigation system so it doesn't freeze, so your pipes don't freeze, and so it just um,
Great.
helps prevent damage in the past. So I've learned that. I learned that trick 2 years ago when we had another freeze, and so I did that again.
Perfect. Last question. If you and I were shopping at Target and I lost you, what aisle would I find you in?
I'm an avid reader, and so I'm going to be in the book section.
Love it.
It's near electronics, so my kids are going. My kids are probably over looking at the games for the Switch and everything else, and I'm sifting through books, getting lost. So that's probably where I'd be.
Well, fantastic. Greg, this was great. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Sure.
And if you're not following Greg on LinkedIn, please do.
Thanks, Chris.
Greg,
Thanks
just
for
stay
calling.
on for 1 second, man. Appreciate you watching. Hit subscribe. See you in the next one.